Happy Monday, everyone. Hope you guys are doing good. Today, we have a nice 8 game NBA slate here on DraftKings. So, I'll be talking through my favorite early little core plays as well as doing a game by game breakdown, giving you guys all the information we need to have a successful night tonight. So, if you're new to the channel, hit that like button and subscribe. Make sure to check out my Price Picks video, which will be coming out after this. We are 8-0, looking to continue the streak to be 10-0 there. So, yeah, hit the like button. I'll see you guys in the video. Before we jump into it, just a quick little recap of my lineup here. Missed cash by 6 points. Steph Curry, just god awful. 2 fouls in the first 5 minutes, or excuse me, 2 fouls in the first 3 minutes of the game. Completely thrown off his whole game. Shot 8 of 23. He was just not great at all. Devin Vassell, the same thing. Didn't get in foul trouble, but was 4 of 12. Only played 27 minutes. The game blew out. That was just god awful there from him. Jalen Brown, obviously great with no Jason Tatum. I went to Jalen Williams. He was solid as well. Eubanks, great. DeLon Wright, solid. Jabari Walker, I took a risky shot here. Originally, I had John Morant as my point guard and Keon Johnson as my forward. And then I just wanted to switch to Steph. I just love the matchup. Thought he'd be a little bit lower owned than probably most point guards, just because I didn't think people wanted to play him in the last slate. I think everyone kind of wanted to build around those Celtics guys. So I took that shot, and it obviously didn't work out because Jabari Walker he played 15 minutes. Obviously, Trenton Watford got hurt, so that kind of helped a bit. But I thought more minutes would go to him. Unfortunately, Nazir Little couldn't miss a shot, so he pretty much soaked up all the power forward minutes. So yeah, I mean, Jabari Walker could have paid off, but he just did nothing. And the shade and the sharp was fine. So yeah, just missed cash by 6 points, which is a little frustrating. But hopefully, we cash today. Looking to have a nice day with here with this 8 game slate. So starting off here with Dallas and Indiana. On the Dallas side here, there's going to be no Luka Doncic. So that means Kyrie Irving 9,800 is going to be leading this team. I love him in this matchup. 9,800 for Kyrie is a great price tag. We've seen him have huge games there without Luka, so I like Kyrie in this spot here. Coming off a few bad games, the Mavs are really struggling. So I like Kyrie to step it up here. Should be one of the best spin ups of the day. Christian Wood is one of those guys where it's like you just don't know the minutes. If he's going to get close to 30 minutes, he can obviously smash and nuke the slate as you can see here, 51 and 28 against the Spurs. Or he can go out there and play 17 minutes and give you nothing. So he's just a very risky GPP play, but he's huge upside. Um, Rest of the team, Hardaway Jr., Josh Green, they'd probably have the most interest for me in like these secondary pieces. But that's really it. There's no one that really stands out besides Kleber is maybe some decent value. He's been seeing solid minutes. It just depends on if he can hit a shot and get you a few peripheral stats. But yeah, but right now it's really just Kyrie. I think Hardaway would be a strong secondary option here for this team. Green would be decent. His minutes aren't guaranteed as you see all 14, but Luka's gone, so maybe he sees closer to 20 now. But yeah, it's really just gonna be Kyrie for me. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a strong secondary option. Wood is a very solid GPP play, but obviously super risky. Could definitely bust. And then Cleaver is a solid value play down there. Moving on to Indiana. On the Indiana side, Halliburton questionable, Turner questionable. If there is no Halliburton, we'll get Nemhard starting in place of him as the point guard, alongside Buddy, Turner, Naismith, and maybe Matherin. They've been switching it up a little bit, so we'll have to wait and see. If there's no Turner, that means it's just more of minutes for guys like Isaiah Jackson. Jalen Smith will split the center minutes. So right now, if both of them are in, I like Miles Turner there at that price tag. We know he's a ceiling. Halburn has been great recently as well, so they both look great. Obviously, if one of them's in, you want to go to the backups. They just have a lot of pieces right now. Like Noir had the huge game last game, but if there's no Halburn, Nemhard and McConnell look great. I'd prefer look McConnell, but Nemhard would be a very solid play as well. Then it's just more bump to a guy like Heald. Maybe a guy like Matherin, if he doesn't, I like him more if he comes off the bench rather than starting. And then guys off the bench are like Nawara, Jalen Smith, Isaiah Jackson will start if there is no Turner. So there's just a lot to go over here. Just one of those more wait and see approaches with the injury news there. On to Milwaukee and Detroit. Looks like Giannis is probable. I can see this being a spot where he plays a quarter, maybe two, if they're blowing him out and doesn't play the rest of the game, or he just doesn't play at all, and they just rest him here in the spot. So we'll have to wait and see. But as of right now, it looks like he's good to go, and he's pretty much the only play I like here at 11.6. Pretty solid price tag, decent matchup. Sure, you could take a shot on like one of the secondary options, like a Brooke Lopez. Hope he has a huge block game. Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton. Sure, they could get you there, but everything kind of seems forced. Bobby Portis, I like him, but he's just been struggling the past 2 games. But should see mid 20 minutes and could easily go off. He's kind of like a Christian Wood play there. They have huge upside. It's just the minutes aren't a guarantee, and they've both been struggling recently. So I think that's about it. Now, if there is no Giannis, then I'd love, some Chris Middleton, some Drew Holiday, Bobby Portis would look great. So it's just more one of those wait and see approaches with Milwaukee. On to Detroit. For the Detroit side, not much interest for me. Ivy's priced outright. Same with Bagley, Hayes, Wiseman. I think Jalen Duren is probably my favorite play here. Minutes aren't a guarantee, but if it's a close game, he should see around 20. He could definitely get you there, as you can see here, 36 and 36 and 20 and 24 minutes. But yeah, if the game blows out, it looks like he's not going to get that blowout run. And obviously, this spread here is like 15 points. So it's just hard to get to any of these guys on Detroit with any confidence. If you want some super low owned guys, Detroit's your team, but it's just super risky. Moving on to Houston and New York. Houston, another one of those teams where it's just like, if you think this game stays close, obviously one of them, maybe two of them are going to have solid games. I prefer getting to KPJ. He's been the safest of the bunch. Jabari Smith Jr. has been solid recently as well, the past like month and a half. So, yeah, Easton seen minutes. It's just hard to feel great about this team here. They're all priced about right. It's just like you're taking a dart throw, throwing it like, oh, I think this guy's going to do good. Hopefully he does. But yeah, right now, not a lot of interest for me in Houston. On the Knicks side, obviously they get a fantastic matchup here. I love Randall. I love Brunson if he plays. Um, and then you can land on like a Barrett, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, um, as secondary options. Now, if Brunson's out, obviously it's just more of a bump for Randall. We'll get quickly starting. He looks great at 6,500. I love playing both of them. Barrett would look great, even though he absolutely screwed me last slate. 30 minutes, 14 and a half fantasy points. That is unreal. Josh Hart would get more of a minutes bump. I'd still prefer getting to Barrett over him. And then Mitchell Robinson doesn't really affect him, but he should be still a solid play all around. And then Quentin Grimes. Be interested to see how many people jump on the Quentin Grimes ship here, because I know most people chased him with that 29 fantasy point game, got a career game from him the second game, but I'm not going to chase it, especially if he's going to be like 25, 30+% owned at 4,500 if there is no Brunson. So right now, the big news is Brunson, but if he's good to go, which hopefully he is, I love him and ran on the spot. Moving on to Phoenix and Utah. Phoenix gets a fantastic matchup here. Devin Booker, 10K, looks fantastic. Chris Paul, 7,400, looks solid as well. And Ayton, he should be good to go. If there's no minutes limit, I love Ayton here. We always want to attack Utah with the opposing team's big, so that is Ayton. So I love him in the spot. He should be able to feast against Utah with no Laurie Markkinen going against Walker Kessler. So I love DeAndre Ayton in the spot here. In terms of the secondary options, um, Warren and Ross have kind of been the ones getting the minutes recently. As you can see, Warren's been doing solid. If you want to chase it, sure, with either one of these guys, it's just know they could play 5 to 15 minutes and just not get you there and just absolute goose eggs. So that's the risk there, but I guess they're playable. Utah, Laurie, questionable. If he's going to go, he's always a very solid contrarian spend up. If he's out, it's just more minutes for guys like Kelly Olynyk, Kessler, who've both been decent. Kessler could have been better, but he went off that last game. Of course, of course. Could have won $500 here against Milwaukee if he just didn't get in foul trouble. He did. Played 17 minutes, did not play a single minute in the second half. What do you know against Sacramento? Goes off for 52. It's just so annoying, so frustrating. But yeah, those two look very solid here in this matchup. Horton Tucker looks decent. Dunn, Baji. I mean, they're all priced about right. Maybe I look to Fonte. He just has been shooting the ball well. Kelly Olynyk looks solid, but yeah, it's just no real standouts, but they all look decent. Moving on to Philadelphia here. Big news is Harden and Embiid. Um, it could be a spot where they rest Embiid. He's been talking about how he needs like a game off. I don't think it will be this one. Probably be the next game, but definitely keep an eye out on that, because if he's out, we'd obviously want to go to his backups, Harrell or Reed. They both look great. If Harden's out, once again, it's just more of a bump to Embiid. Maxey, Harris, Melton all look solid. Out of that group, I'd still prefer getting to Maxey just because he's probably the safest. But Harris and Melton do have his ceiling. They all looked solid. And then off the bench, we'll just get some more minutes for a guy like Milton. He should see about 20-ish minutes off the bench. He'd be an okay value. Niang would see about 20 as well. He'd be okay value. So yeah, some interest there. Maybe it'd be more some minutes for a guy like McDaniels. Maybe he sees closer to 20. But that's kind of the big news there. Moving on to Denver. On the Denver side, Jokic is still priced pretty cheap here. Obviously, a fantastic matchup in terms of just viewing this game. You know, Denver versus Philadelphia, Jokic versus Embiid. That's just great. But there is some foul trouble risk, I guess, for Jokic, just because Embiid's just a huge, huge body. Pause. But yeah, 11-4 for Jokic. I can't be mad about that price tag. Jamal Murray, I talked about him. He went for 50 last game. He's just a very solid play there at 7,900. APJ is not questionable. If he's out, I'm assuming they'd start Bruce Brown, who's been actually a solid value after going for a while, just being a terrible play. He's moved back into like the solid value play range. Maybe he'd start. He'd look decent. KPJ is an okay value. Aaron Gordon, don't mind him as a contrarian play there at 6,100. Maybe they dip down into like a Braun starting. Don't think we'd have to go there, but yeah, it's really right now still just Jokic Murray for me. If you want to take a shot on the guy, I'd say probably Aaron Gordon. Moving on to Minnesota and Sacramento. Great game environment here. Minnesota is coming off of a back to back. So we'll have to wait and see if Towns plays. But right now, these price tags, it's just hard to get these guys. Anthony Edwards shot terrible. Towns played 32 minutes, shot 5 of 16. Um, so yeah, if there's no limit on Carl Towns, I think he'd be my favorite play there at 8,300. We did see 32 minutes last night, but coming off a back to back, maybe he doesn't play. But this game is big for them in terms of playoff seeding. So I think they'll play both of them, and I think I just prefer getting to Carl Towns, and that's really it. A few other people stepped up last night, like Nas Reed, Kyle Anderson. Kyle Anderson got a huge minutes just because Jaden got in massive foul trouble. The dude picked up 2 fouls like every 2 minutes, and so he played 10 minutes the whole game. It was just crazy. But yeah, right now, really the only interest for me is Towns and Edwards. Now, if Towns got ruled out, it'd be a huge bump to Edwards. Gobert looked decent. Obviously, you could get 2 guys like Kyle Anderson who'd probably start, and Conley and McDaniels. They all look decent, and then you could always take a shot at Nas Reed off the bench. But yeah, it's really just dependent on that Carl Towns news. On to the Sacramento side. Obviously, Fox is questionable. If he's out, it should be Davion Mitchell starting in place for him again. 4,500, not the best price tag. I'd just say more of an okay play, not like a must need. Because we know he's a very, very low floor, even though he's been doing better recently in the past like 2, 3 starts. But yeah, Sabonis would look great here, 10-3. He's been fantastic the past like month and a half. Herder, he's been great in place of Fox. As you can see here, past 2 games, 32 minutes, 38. He went for 54 and 48 bombs. So Herder really looked decent. I just don't love the price tag, especially if people are going to chase those past 2 games with Herder if there's no Fox. I just rather take a shot on one of the other wings, like a Murray, who we know has decent upside, like a Barnes, even a Monk. He will lose minutes if he's not playing well. It's not a guarantee, even if there's no Fox, which you would think he'd guarantee like at least 25 minutes. It's not, so there's always that risk there. But he's probably my favorite play of the lower owned, cheaper guys here on the Kings side. Obviously, we talked about Davion Mitchell. Trey Lyles is losing some minutes recently, but he still can definitely get you there if you want like a cheaper value play. As you can see, can definitely get you up close to mid 30 or mid 20s fantasy points if he's doing very well. So that's the big news. There is Fox. Fox is in. It's really just gonna be Fox as a bonus for me. And then sure, you could always take a shot on one of the wings. I prefer Monk and maybe Lyles, but that's about it. Moving on to the last couple of games here, Portland and the Pelicans. Falcons side, they've been blowing out people the past few games here, so they've been losing some big minutes on these starters. But Brandon Ingram's been super, super solid and consistent, so I don't mind going to him at almost 9,000. More of one of those just super contrarian plays that most people won't get to. Same thing with CJ; they always come in at pretty low ownership. I prefer getting to Ingram just because he's been a little bit more safer, but CJ's solid. And then J-Val, the same thing. He's actually been seeing huge minutes recently, pretty much around 34 minutes if it's not massive foul trouble for him. Double double every game. So if he's going to continue seeing 34 minutes, he should obviously smash, as you can see here. So that's the risk with J-Val though, is like, is this just a mirage? Like, is this just a thing that's happened for the past 5 games, or is it going to be like the previous whole season so far, where it's like if he gets in foul trouble, they're just going to limit him. Right now, it looks like they're going to give him the minutes, and they've been doing well with it. But just know there is that chance he goes out there, plays 16, 21 minutes, 25, and does not get you there, and absolutely busts at his price tag because the Pelicans just don't know what they're doing with him. So it's really dependent on if he gets in foul trouble and how he's doing, but there's that risk there. I will mention that, but he looks very, very solid if you want to continue the hot streak with him. In terms of the wings, no real need to get to any of these guys. Maybe you could take a shot on Larry Nance if you think J Val comes back down to earth and gets in foul trouble. But right now, it's just main three guys for me on that side. Moving on to Portland, um, Dame's questionable, Grant's questionable, Nurkic's questionable, Simon's questionable. Um, it's looking like none of these guys will play. I mean, they're tanking. I doubt any of these guys play here for this game. So once again, we'll probably get Sharp starting at the point guard. Watford did hurt his ankle, did not come back last game, so that's big news there because we'll get another one of those power forward wings in the starting lineup. But yeah, it should be Sharp. Should be I think Reddish he did not start, so it should be Sharp. It should be Thibault, Eubanks, um, Archie Diacono, and I would assume they'd probably throw in Nazir Little into the starting lineup. He was the best one on the team yesterday, besides Shaden Sharp. And then off the bench, we could definitely get two guys like Knox, who's been seeing some decent minutes. He'd probably see closer to 20. Jabari Walker would probably see closer to 20 as well. He'd be an okay value. Keon Johnson, maybe he starts. He'd see closer to 25. So yeah, there's a good amount of interest here for this Portland side. But right now, I think the clear standout is Shaden Sharp, kind of his team. He's seen 35 plus minutes the past 3 games. Scoring the ball great. Wish we got more from him peripheral stat wise, but 6,200 for him and a decent matchup. He should still even play. He should still play even in a blowout. I do like him in there at 6,200. And then I do like a lot of these other pieces here. We'll throw in Eubanks here real fast, 4,300. And yeah, I mean, there's just a lot to like here for a Portland team that's tanking, and we'll give all these scrubs a lot of minutes. And then moving on to Chicago and the Clippers. Levine, he's been great. You know, he's just shooting the ball very, very well. So I do like him at 8,700. Same thing with DeRozan. He looks solid, and Vooch looks solid as well. So it's hard picking one out of the three that you feel great about. I'd probably say Vooch probably has the best matchup, or Levine, but I like all three. And then in terms of secondary options, excuse me, Kobe White's actually been super, super solid. I'm not chasing that elevated price tag. His minutes aren't a guarantee. Pat Bev's price is up. Don't love that. Same thing with IO. There's really no interest for me besides maybe a Caruso here's value, but that's about it. It's really just kind of the main three Bulls, and that's about. Moving on to the Clippers, Kawhi should be good to go. He looks like a great spend up. Going to assume all the usage. I like Russ as like a contrarian play here. Minutes aren't always a guarantee. That game did blow out, but we know he's massive upside, so I do like him a lot here at 8,100. Zubac more of a GPP play. He'll split the minutes with Mason Plumlee. Could be a game where we see more minutes for Zubac just because Vooch is on the other side, a little bit of a bigger center, so maybe they'll need Zubac. But yeah, not a lot of interest for me in the secondary plays. Bones Highland got priced up. So yeah, right now, really, it's just going to be Russ or Kawhi. That's going to do it for the slate breakdown, guys. We'll throw Kyrie back in here. So we're going to 3 early the core plays as of right now. Kyrie, Ayton, and Eubanks. Obviously, we have some injury news we have to wait on, so we'll just kind of stay updated on Twitter with that. So make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Check out my prize picks video, which will be out after this, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.